Welcome back to the Midnight Vigil, the channel where the stars are always right and there is a monster hiding underneath your bed. In this episode of Arcane Reference, I'm going to be discussing the 2008 horror short film AM1200, which is directed by David Pryor. As usual, I'll be discussing the history of this film, what I think makes it special and worthy of recognition, and its legacy. If you are new to Arcane Reference, this is a series where I take a look at horror media and we focus on projects here that maybe have fallen under the radar, and I talk about them and why I think they are deserving of more recognition and attention. It will be impossible to discuss this film without at least some mild spoilers, so consider yourself warned. I'm going to post a link in the description to the full movie, which is viewable on Vimeo on the production company's page, so feel free to check it out and come back to hear my thoughts. In AM1200, we see the main character Sam Larson, an investment analyst, swindle his company out of millions of dollars. Sam implicates his boss, who, strangely enough, puts the idea into his head at a retirement party, Harry Jones, in the crime. And Harry commits suicide the next day when he discovers that he will be taking the blame for what has happened. Overcome with guilt, Sam skips town with the money safely secured in his briefcase. While on the run, Sam overhears a bizarre late-night radio transmission from a local station in which the broadcaster pleads for assistance, claiming that they are experiencing a medical emergency. After falling asleep at the wheel, Sam gets lost navigating in the desert and, before he knows it, arrives at the mysterious radio station where he is confronted with cosmic horrors beyond his comprehension. Of the two other episodes that I've done for Arcane Reference, this one by far is the most indie and the least known. As such, there's very little information about AM1200 and its development history. I actually had to look several entries down the first page of Google's results for AM1200 before I could find any sort of official site. And honestly, I found this experience kind of nostalgic. I can't remember the last time I looked at a promotional website for a film, let alone was required to look at a promotional website for a film. Especially in this day and age where it's easy to pull pretty much any information you want about a piece of media from YouTube or Reddit or any other major news site. This film definitely took some digging. The earliest posting on the news section on the main site for AM1200 is from July of 2007 and gives an update on the production of the film. Since this came out in 2008, we can tell that the road to production had a few bumps, but director David Pryor was able to iron out the creases and get the film out. The film was released and was screened at several festivals and even managed to win a couple of awards. Most notable out of those awards is the Brown Jenkins Award, which is the top prize at the H.P. Lovecraft Film Festival, which in a roundabout way is how I managed to get introduced to this film. Mike Davis, who runs the wonderful Lovecraft e-zine, the link will be in the description. Go check his site out if you have an interest in Lovecraft. It's really well put together. Mike ended up putting it on his list of recommended Lovecraftian films. That was years and years ago, though. Back then, this film was notoriously difficult to track down, with Mike only listing the film available as a DVD purchase. I ended up putting it on my backlog of films, and you know how that goes. I pretty much forgot about it. That is, until now. Having seen this film finally, I can recommend it wholeheartedly. AM1200 is loaded with suspense and tension. There are big budget horror films that don't really convey this sense of dread nearly as well as this indie project does. If you pay attention to the little details, AM1200 has a lot of neat references and nods that feel rewarding and add to the experience. The Judeo-Christian faith gets referenced many times, as well as what I'm interpreting to be a clever homage to Hitchcock's Psycho. There's an obvious reference to Moloch, the ancient Israeli god of child sacrifice, in the name of the company that the main character Sam works for. It's obvious, but I actually had to replay the scenes where this company gets mentioned a few times to make sure that I wasn't totally going crazy and misinterpreting the pronunciation. Sam's boss, by the way, is played by Ray Wise, who is most well known for playing Leland Palmer on the greatest television show ever made, Twin Peaks. This isn't really a reference, though, but it was a great surprise for me to see him again after so many years. Maybe the greatest aspect of this film, besides how scary and well put together it is how well it conveys one of, if not the most central tenet of Lovecraft's mythos: the ultimate futility of humanity's struggle against the unknowable and insurmountable cosmic horror. John Milton's Paradise Lost gets a key part to play in the mystery behind AM1200 with his famous quote, "Is it better to reign in hell or to serve in heaven?" getting special mention here. AM1200's legacy is difficult to discuss because it doesn't really have a legacy. Sure, it received great reviews and won several awards on its festival circuit, but AM1200 is the definition of a cult classic. AM1200 has been rated 502 times on IMDb for an average of 7 out of 10, and has only been reviewed 7 times on the site. Yes, that's correct. There are only 7 written reviews for this film on IMDb. Honestly, if it wasn't for my slavish devotion to Lovecraft, I'm not sure I would have ever found this film. As such, it's one of the gems of the horror genre, and it is well worth a watch. Considering that this is only a 40-minute film, this is an easy recommendation. And since it's only 40 minutes, it doesn't waste any time getting good. Pretty much immediately, the film picks up and becomes really interesting. But that's about it. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I will see you next time.